Hi everyone, this is Ashley, and I am going to conduct another experiment. So I decided to test out the theory of using two test strips. I wanted to see if they were side by side, if the one containing no HCG would yield a false positive result if it was right next to a test strip that was dipped into urine that contained HCG. Just to, because this will be positive. So I'm going to place them like this. And I'll dip this one first. This is actually a sample that was donated by a friend of mine who's pregnant. And so I'm going to dip this in this sample, which contains no HCG, and then place them side by side like this, just to see if the chemicals or the dye run per se will cause it to either run into this test or cause it to, do a false positive result, just simply by being right next to it. And this is going to be my control test, which I'm using a separate one. So I'll use the same sample and dip this, just so there's no confusion in case the line does pop up. If this one's negative, then obviously this one was just a result of being next to this one. So that's what I want to find out. And I decided to do that tonight. So let's do this and see what happens. But before we get started, let me go ahead and explain things for those of you who are new to test strips. Basically, what this is, it's a test strip. You can find these fairly inexpensive for pennies. That you can get them off of eBay or Amazon very cheaply in big bundles, for about maybe anywhere from $5 to $25, depending on how big the bundle is. This test strip is actually inside of an actual home pregnancy test, whether you use a cassette test, which a cassette test is something that you would drop the urine inside of. A test strip, you would just simply, it's actually like that, except just inside of the fancy packaging. And you actually just dip that into the sample. And you don't want to do it past the max line. And I like to do it a minimal of 5 to 10 seconds. And same thing with like the midstream test, like say first response, for example, except the test strips are just a bit wider and a bit bigger, but it's basically the same thing. So whenever you're doing a home pregnancy test, it's always best to use first morning urine, FMU, and within the allotted time frame, which is generally anywhere from 3 to 10 minutes, any line that appears should be considered a positive result. So, for example, you're going to get a control line, which is going to react with just about any liquid, including water. And that just indicates that the test is working properly. So that'll be right here and on this test right there where you see the C. If a second line appears where the test line, the T right here, test line, or on this one, it would be right there, that indicates that a presence of HCG is inside the urine. So as it passes over, the regions inside of the dye reacts with the chemicals on the antibody strip, and it causes it to change color. And essentially you want to use highly concentrated urine. And this right here is concentrated, whereas this right here is extremely diluted. This was like 0 hold and maybe a hold of about 45 minutes to an hour, but, drinking liquids. And you generally want to refrain from doing that. So your best bet is to use first morning urine. It has the highest concentration of the pregnancy hormone, HCG. And if you're anything like me and you get a good 8 hours of sleep, and you're early in pregnancy, that is going to be the best and optimal time to test. So that is how that works. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and dip this. I'm not going to go past the max line, and I'm going to dip this one in the sample that contains the HCG. And that should actually yield a positive result right away. So we are right at the 5-minute mark right now. So I'm going to do this for about 5 seconds. 3, 5. Maybe a little bit longer. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and dip this one in the sample that doesn't contain HCG. Okay. And I'm going to put them right next to each other. And I actually kind of dipped this one in a little too deep, and I went a little bit past the max line, so that's not good. But with that being said, okay. So now I'm also going to do my control test. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 drops. Okay. And then set that aside. Okay, so there, so far, there's the control line. And then I can see a little bit of dye running over into this test strip. And again, it's just that, you know, it's just sitting next to the other one. So the dye on this one has already passed through. Yeah. And so far there's nothing on that one, so there is actually somewhat of a line that's forming just simply by it being next to this one. And it's going to happen fairly quickly. For those of you who are testing, generally speaking, when you actually have enough in your system, say like the test is 25 MIU and you have a concentration of 25 MIU in your system, usually you don't really have to wait very long for the line to appear. That usually only happens if you are very, very, very early on in pregnancy and you're testing early, like say you're actually actively trying and you track your ovulation, you do basal body temperature and cervical fluids and all that good stuff, and you know that you've ovulated and you've waited until 7 or 8 DPO, which stands for days past ovulation. With that being said, your levels usually will be very, very low. So you need to use a highly sensitive test if you're going to opt to do that. And it can take the full, 3 to 5 minutes for the line to appear. But if you're actually, like, say, the day of your period, like you missed your period that day, and you know that's the day your period is supposed to be due according to, say if you're very regular or you're actually tracking your cycle and you know this, it's more likely you're not going to have to wait very long for a line to appear if you are in fact pregnant. So it'll happen very quickly. Same thing like with OPK's ovulation tests. For example, even if you have a very, very small concentration of it, you can still see a very, very faint line. It's not going to be any different with the home pregnancy test. And people tend to get indent lines, which is simply the antibody strip, confused with an actual positive. So if it doesn't have any color, it doesn't look similar to the control, even if it's a shades lighter, chances are it more than likely isn't positive. Not to say that you're not pregnant, it just means that there may not be enough HCG in your system. So you may want to retest. Okay. I definitely don't see anything on this test. So, as you can see, plain as day, the dye is running into this test. There's the control line. That's the test line. If you ever get a line like this and say it's going halfway down, for example, more than likely that is a negative. An actual positive, you're going to see the full line as you would on this test right here. So I do conclude. I'm actually also going to do another experiment using an OPK with the same sample here in a minute, just to see if the same thing will happen, because it could simply be the dye running. I just wanted to use urine with HCG in it just to see, but I think this is because of the HCG and it's running into this test line, but it's going to be a half line. It's not going to be a full line. And when that happens, unfortunately, it's not considered to be a true positive, so as much as we would like it to be. Because obviously, if it was, there would be a line on this test as well. That's why I tend to use an additional test as a control, just to show you. So anyways, okay, so I conclude that yes, if you do put a test next to another test, especially if this one, if it's next to a test that contains HCG, there's a likelihood that the dye itself is going to run, but also the chemicals can also transfer. So it's always a good idea, like say, if I know that like with my friends, we tend to test together, whereas I may not be pregnant, but just showing support, so I definitely want to keep my test away from hers. But I just wanted to conduct this little experiment to see if that would happen, and indeed it does. So as you can see, boom. And I just wanted to show you all. Anyways, thank you again for checking out this video. If you've enjoyed it, if it's helped you in any way, if you found it educational, please do us a favor and like the video and subscribe to the channel. That would definitely help me out quite a bit, and I'll continue making these fun little videos for you all. And if you have any good experimental ideas for home pregnancy tests or OPKs, definitely let me know. You can email me, you can hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Facebook would probably be the easiest, but you can always email me as well, at admin@pianostickfreak.com. Check out our website. We update the content all the time, pianostickfreak.com. Also, like us on Facebook, Piano Stick Freak. Follow us on Instagram, Piano Stick Freak, and also Twitter, Piano Stick FRK. And also, if you're going through this journey yourself and you're actively trying to have a baby, or you've had a baby, maybe you're trying to have a baby again, baby number 2, baby number 3, really anybody going along in this little journey of, we have a wonderful group with some terrific ladies. If you have a Facebook, it is called Pee on a Stick Freaks, and we would love to have you in there. It's a place where you can feel free to post, your home pregnancy tests or OPKs, ask questions. There's never a stupid question, so we love to show support and help those of you that are in this process. And, really even those that are, parents, you have a child, you might want to have another child later on down the line. It's a good place to gain information and insight. We have a bunch of ladies that have tons of experience with this type of thing, so check out www.pianostickfreak.com and definitely join our group if you have a Facebook. Again, it's called Pee on a Stick Freaks. So this is my conclusion. This test is definitely, I believe, negative. If you're seeing anything else I'm not seeing, let me know, but that's negative. That's the control line, or the control test. And boom, there you go. There's a test with a line on it simply from being next to another test that contains the HCG. And also could be a result from dye. So I'm going to do another experiment using an OPK. And I'm going to put that next to a pregnancy test, and I'm going to use the same sample, and we'll see what happens there. But as of right now, I conclude that having a test strip next to a test strip that contains HCG definitely will do this, without a doubt. So this is Ashley signing off. Y'all have a wonderful evening, and thank you again for watching this. If it's helped you in any way, please do us a favor and like this video and definitely subscribe to our channel. Thank you again. Y'all have a wonderful night.